at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, welcome, guys. We are here. Miss Liz is back in the house, and you know what time it is. It's storytelling time and words. That's right. We serve a different type of beverage on Tea Time with Miss Liz. And today I have the incredible Scott Grace in the house. And if you don't know who Scott Grace is, you need to check him out. So we're going to get the disclaimer, we're going to get some bio, and we're going to get you guys over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel. That's right. We're going to get you to ring that little doorbell so that you can see all these incredible tea times at your own pace. Or you can even join the live stream like what we're doing right now. We're live streaming. So if you'd like to join the conversation and put your comments and questions and all of that support into the section, you're more than welcome to. If you'd like to stay anonymous, you can send Miss Liz a direct message at my Facebook page and I will get those questions out to Scott during our conversation. Today's tea time is a lively tea time. So we're going to have some surprises for you, maybe even some music. You just never know. Miss Liz twists it up once in a while. So before we get started, let's get the disclaimer going and then let me give you a little bit on Scott and then we're going to share his tea today with all of you guys out there. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz, myself is using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that relates to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that the show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, for all of my listeners and audience out there, Miss Liz is closing the Tea Time podcast. So we are 5 tea times left before we wrap up 5 seasons and 5 incredible seasons. I admit to. I've met incredible people from all walks of life. And today I have one of those guests in the house. So I have Scott Grace. Scott Grace is a multifaceted life coach, tapping wizard, intuition guide, mentor, inspirational speaker, singer, songwriter, and conscious comedian. Scott brings a wealth of experience and joy to the table. Scott resides in the beautiful village of Ajijic, Mexico. I'll get him to say because I'm not sure I'm saying it right. Embracing a semi-retired lifestyle with fully committing to transforming lives one heart at a time. With stories ranging from hustling the streets of New York City to opening for renowned personalities like Deepak Chopra and Robin Williams. Scott's journey is one of resilience and inspiration. He's the author of 4 best-selling books that blend self-help, spirituality, and humor, and he creates personalized songs that touch the heart. His unique approach combines laughter and enlightenment, making him a beloved figure in the personal growth community. Today, we share his tea and his book on mindful masculinity, a book for men and the women who love them. Then we spilled the tea of teaching ease awesomely. So let me get Scott in here and let's spill some tea together, guys. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, I'm number 5 on your list, counting down.
Number 5, right? Oh my God. I'm heartbroken, but I'm happy. I'm excited. I got a lot of different feelings for tea time because I've met so many incredible people, and journeys and doors have opened, just through open conversations. So, Scott, I'm going to take you down a little rabbit hole right now. Who is Scott as a little boy and who's Scott now?
Scott, as a little boy, was filled with mirth and joy. Scott right now is learning to allow the little boy of yesterday to inhabit his body today. There's an integration of the adult and the boy. So we're returning to that frisky, spontaneous joy. People are going to think that this question was rehearsed. They're going to think I'm making up this as a verse. But let me tell you, spontaneity and gaiety are my commitment. And I've got the equipment. I've got the rhyming brain. So, hey, no shame.
I love it, Scott. And there is no rehearsal because I don't give my guests any time to rehearse. It's just on the point, boom. There, some will ask, Miss Liz, where's my questions? Oh, I got no questions for you. Let's just go with the flow. Let's just spill some tea and have fun, right?
You betcha.
So, Scott, you've had an incredible life, and I did some homework on you, and you got 9 lives. So let's talk about the 9 lives of Scott, the cool cat.
All right. Well, that was just one fun way of expressing that I've been through a lot and a lot of change, a lot of different expressions of myself. And life number one, I sold laundry bags on the streets of New York City for 7 years while I took voice lessons and went into recording studios to record my music. And I dreamed of a career as a personal growth oriented singer, songwriter, and workshop leader. I was selling laundry bags, running away from the police and hustling my way to have enough cash to pay the bills. And
So
then I
that's where
moved.
the outlaw comes in, right?
Yeah. I got arrested. I got put in jail. It was quite a colorful adventure. And then I moved to California with the commitment that I would never do anything for money again that wasn't part of my life purpose. So at that time, I had 2 cassettes of my music. I was doing house concerts and little musical healing circles. And I was opening up for Deepak Chopra, John Gray, Marianne Williamson, all of these luminaries who all recognized that the kind of music that I could do was rather unique because I could pick up the guitar and create a song about what they're talking about and create a song to finish their lectures and help people find their hearts more deeply because music does have a doorway into our hearts.
So, Scott,
So,
those are
go ahead.
considered like jingles, right?
Not necessarily. Um,
So, what's the difference between a jingle and a song?
a jing, I don't know. Should we look it up? Let's Google it. Jingle bell, rock. Uh,
That
I
was
think
actually a good song.
I love that song. In fact, I'm learning it now because we're going to go caroling in my village, which is called Ajijic.
Ah, he,
So 2 J's, they're both silent. They're pronounced in Spanish as ha, Ajijic.
he. Oh, that's
Yes.
cool. See, and this is how I do. I learn on tea time, right, with my guests. Uh, so,
Mhm.
Scott, you've opened for some incredible people around the world. What is one moment that really impacted your life?
One moment that impacted my life. And are we talking incredible people like celebrities or just doesn't
Anybody,
matter? Just
all walks of life, right?
somebody who really spilled the tea on me. My dear friend, and I wrote about him, he's one of my main mentors, Richard Barty. Ooh, there's a T in his name. And Richard was 20 years older than me, and I would see him around in New York City, and he was called the D Train poet because he would be on the D train not to commute, but to commune and to bring people to life. And at that time, there were no cell phones, but most New Yorkers buried themselves in a newspaper to avoid any kind of contact with anyone else. And he just would bust through the newspaper with a big smile. And he did that to me. And he said, "Do you want to see a picture of the next savior of mankind?" And I said, "Okay." and he held up a little pocket mirror and he said, "It's you, you're it." And I was 21, and it just shook me up in the best way. We ended up becoming friends, and he mentored me with poetry and music. And but that first moment where I met him, where he held up the mirror and said, "Surprise, you're it," rocked my world.
You know, and that's what we need, right? We need that one individual that sees us when we don't see ourselves and give us that reflection of us looking
Mm,
within, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
And
need
that's it.
mentors.
And that's what we do, right? When we start looking within ourselves and we start understanding ourselves.
Yes. And the elders who have the wisdom, they need to pass it on. They need the mentor. And we young, budding students of life need to be mentored. And that is so natural in indigenous cultures. And it's something we've lost along the way in our civilized world.
Absolutely. Let's get to your second life of the cool cat. And your second life that I have here is an opening act. So what's the opening act about?
Oh, well, what I meant by that is these spiritual luminaries, rock star authors, Byron Katie, da, 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 they would hire me to open their events and do songs along the way, improvisationally about what they were talking about. So that's what I mean. I would open for them with music.
Now give me an example of an opening act that you would do, Scott.
Well, I would just ask the speaker what their topic was, and I would create a song about that topic.
Okay, so if I give you the topic T, you gave me the three words of teaching ease and awesomely. Can you come up with a song?
All righty then. Just happen to have my guitar. So, teaching ease awesomely. Teaching ease awesomely. While Miss Liz has a very cool cup of tea. It's her fifth to last spilling cup, but she'll continue to strut all her stuff. She's got plans and visions and dreams, and we'll find out in 2025 how she's just switching to herbal tea. And it's so darn good to be alive, living ease.
That's awesome, Scott. Just on the moment, like boom, like that. That's the way it's done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how tea is served, right? It's just an easy flow that we simply forget sometimes. And I love that you have the guitar, and I love that I can just say, "Hey, pick a song, sing a song,
Indeed.
give us some tunes," because sometimes we need that in life, right? We need that music, we need that pickup. Uh, I'm gonna go to life number three of the cool cat, and that's traveling trouble troubling. I
Traveling
can't even say the word. It's
troubadour.
like tongue twister time. So tell us a little bit about that. Life
Traveling
three.
troubadour. So I was hired by this group called Network Chiropractic to sing at their very large events all around the world. And I developed an email list of people who became fans. And they said, if you're ever in Montreal, if you're ever in Puerto Rico, if you're ever in, please, at this time, people had the time to host a concert, a workshop in their office. And so I just started traveling with network chiropractic, with the people that I met there. And that lasted, I would say, about 10 years.
Wow. And the years go by fast, eh? Like I'm time flies. Like it's 5 years for tea time with Miss Liz. Like and I look back and I see all of the incredible conversations, and you just never know who you impact, right? Who you meet, who you join. And
Mm.
Scott, I when I did some homework on you, I seen some incredible people that you connected with through your spiritual journey as well. Um, Who's one person that really stood out to you through your journey on the spiritual levels?
Hmm. Oh, let's see. Alan Cohn comes to mind. Alan Cohn, very prolific author. I lived with him in New Jersey in a Course in Miracles community, and I just ate him up. Everything he wrote, everything he taught, I followed him to Hawaii. He really he was like the most laid back, relaxed person I'd ever met. And he didn't try, he went with the flow. And I needed that medicine coming from Brooklyn, New York, and having I would call them calluses in my soul, where I thought I had to be tough and I had to plan and I had to protect myself in so many different ways. And here was a man who really emulated this absence of protection, absence of planning, who trusted, who loved, he was gentle. And so I just followed him around for a number of years to absorb through osmosis what he had.
So, on your spiritual journey, Scott, what have you learned about yourself?
Well, I would say what's most important is what I've unlearned about myself.
I like that.
Indeed. Indeed. So I've unlearned that my worth is dependent on what I do and who I impress and how much approval I get. I've unlearned that it's not safe to be honest, that I have to manipulate and just squirm my way through life and decide what I need to share and what stays in the closet.
I like that you use that word unlearn, because we use the word learn, 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 but we don't use the word unlearn. Some things we have to hold back, some things we have to put a limit on, right? Set the boundaries on it, and put the walls on until the time is right, and the right person is there to listen and hear us. I really like when my guests go deep into their own journeys, because this is their tea, and I want to know their tea. I know my tea, but I want to know Scott's tea. Uh,
Well, my tea is hibiscus with
oh, that's a
lemon.
good tea.
Yeah.
Well, let
I'm
me just come and join you and have a cup of tea in Mexico one day.
hmm.
Mhm. So let's go into your next life. The next life is the corporate tapping years. Oh, this should be interesting.
Mm. That's not accurate. You spilled some tea. The
Oh,
corporate, I was called the boardroom bard. And what I did was I took my gift of improv and I took it into corporate conferences and meetings.
okay.
And boy, was I handsomely paid.
The good old corporate world, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So basically, they would, again, just like they would turn to me at any moment where they needed to break and say, can you summarize what we just talked about in song? Yeah. And
Wow.
ultimately, that did not satisfy me. I liked the money, but it was using my gifts in a way that was pure entertainment and did not really make the difference that I like to make in people's lives.
Well, sometimes the money is not everything, right? It's, the
Occasionally.
spiritual journey tells you, and it says, oh, I don't know. The money's nice, but there's something that's not nice in me anymore, right?
Mm.
So I want to
Well,
get
you
on to the
cannot
next,
serve two masters.
right? You know, there is pros and cons and everything, right? And there's things that sometimes we do it and then we're just like, I'm not sure if that's feeding me anymore, right? And it's
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
giving me that flavor that I enjoy. Um,
Jim Carrey says he wishes that everybody has a chance to be rich and famous, because once you get it out of your system, you really can understand that it's not going to make you a happy camper.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jim Carrey's an awesome man. You know, he's a little underestimated a lot, and I like people that get underestimated because those are my type of people. Because
Yeah.
people kind of look differently at Jim Carrey, you know, because he speaks honest and he speaks raw.
He sure does.
So I want to get into life number 5 of the cool cat, and it's stand up. So let's talk about the stand up.
Sure. Stand up, I always included humor in my concerts, and uh, I had a list of funny songs, and I would do a bunch of them. They sold a lot of CDs. And one day I just thought, you know what? I could do stand up, and it scares the crap out of me to do stand up. So let's do it. That's the kind of guy I am. And I did it, and I got addicted to it. I loved it. And this was in Marin County near San Francisco, and this club, there's a big theater, would have Tuesday nights with surprise guests. And I was one of the opening acts. So I got to open for Robin Williams and Dana Carvey, and do improv and songs and actual monologues. And it was a blast. And again, I left that world because it, it, I got it out of my system, and I realized I'm not here to just entertain people. That's fun, but it's a side dish, and we don't want to make it the entree.
Absolutely. I love the way you did that. Like you know, getting these important messages out there, getting it out of our systems, trying it. You know, once it's done, then move on to the next tea, and the next flavor, and the next type, and that as well. Uh,
Hmm.
so, working with Robin Williams, what impacted you?
Oh, I saw him in the green room. I had conversations in which I saw that he wasn't able to make eye contact with
Oh,
me just when talking about himself. I saw a tortured soul who was giving, 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 but not receiving the love and appreciation, pushing it away, kind of perfectionist. I see that a lot with performers and actors. It's tough for them to be themselves. Um, and so I saw his genius. But I have to say that when I would sit in his presence when he was performing, that I felt like I had to leave my body. There was so much frenetic energy going from his genius into my nervous system that I was troubled. Like I on one level I admired his genius, and on another level it's like I got to get out of here because I'm getting so riled up by empathizing, connecting with his nervous system. I'm losing
well,
my own peace.
well, and Robin Williams was known for to use humor, right, to get over hard stuff in his life as well. You know,
Hmm.
and we a lot of us when we're hurting, especially with mental illness, and that we use humor, right, because it gets heavy sometimes. It gets really hard.
Yes.
Uh, you know, so I can imagine leaving that energy and feeling someone else's energy, right?
Hmm.
Some
Hmm.
I know when I go into a room and I can feel different energies, I'm like, oh, I need to stay away from that corner. Oh, let me go over to this corner. It's a little lighter. It's not so heavy, you know? Uh, I feel that as human beings, we are directed to different individuals, you know, who
Hmm.
match the level of energy that we're at. When it gets too high, then we just got to leave our bodies, like you said, Scott, you know, for
Mm.
that moment because,
Or leave the room. One of the hardest things we talked about boundaries for me has been learning to take distance when I'm triggered, when I don't feel safe. If I can learn to take my hand off of a hot stove very quickly without judging myself for doing that, what's to stop me from removing myself from somebody's energy when it's really disturbing to me? And what's to stop me from removing my energy so quickly that I don't stay in distress?
Yeah.
So I've learned to take my, if somebody hands me a hot potato, I don't try to analyze why it's hot and what's going on in me that makes me want to drop it. I just drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we need to drop the hot potato once in a while, right? Because we
Yes.
already know that it's hot. We already know we're going to get burnt, right? It's just like life. uh the scars and triggers and traumas that we all live with, because we all have gone through something, right? That hot potato sometimes gets really hot, but we hold on to it for some reason, knowing that it's going to burn us, until we
Hmm.
learn our boundaries and our
Hmm.
walls and our triggers. And I say this all the time, Scott: triggers are good, because then we know where we need to heal ourselves, where we need to work on
Hmm.
ourselves.
Hmm.
If we didn't recognize our triggers, I think we would be in a lot of danger.
Yeah. So, the person that I had been the most triggered with was my mother. And I actually went through a period of time where I wouldn't talk to her. And thank goodness we transformed our relationship after a couple of years. And now she's 96, and just we get on the phone and we just are a puddle of love. But when she used to come from a very critical place and I felt my self-esteem diminish in her presence, I felt like I had to listen to her and had to take it because she was my mom.
Yeah.
So I broke that pattern. And guess what helped me break it? Rage. Rage. That was the energy I needed to summon in order to put myself first. I was so intimidated by her, and I needed anger to help me set boundaries. And I don't know if I'm going to remember all the lyrics, but I did write a boundary song to celebrate when I finally told her off and got out of there with a commitment to never allow myself, my mother or anyone, to verbally abuse me and stay in the room. I'm singing you this song. Yeah. I'm singing you this song to say goodbye. I'm moving up and on, it's time to fly. I wish you and your life the very best, without me as your captive guest. Never again will I just give you the space, letting you dump your garbage right in my face. I know it's just projection, you don't mean to be mean, but I don't have to sit and be your projection screen. Never again will I be your sounding board when you are using words as weapons of war. From now on, I'm protecting the family jewels from you breaking and entering this palace I rule. Never again, never again. They say forgiveness sets us free, but first we need our boundaries. The time has come to take a stand and take my gonads from your hands. And yeah, it goes on. It's really a fun one. And the thing is, when we started to reconcile, I played her that song, and And she said, I like it, Scott. It's really good. But there's one thing I would correct. And I said, what's that, Mom? She said, I never had your balls in my hands, ever.
So Scott, all the songs that you created and your journey, can people find those songs on your website?
Absolutely. They're all on my website, scottsongs.com, SCOTTSONGS.com. And guess what? They are free. They are free. And many of them are on YouTube as well.
Awesome. I like that one. I might just use that one.
Spotify. Well, yeah. Oh, I didn't share with you there's some lyrics that are really, really fun. I don't remember that one too well. I haven't played it in a long time.
Yeah. Well, sometimes going down memory lane, and having these conversations, you open those doors again and you say, oh, I remember a goodie, And I love that you just grabbed your guitar and started playing, because I needed that song. And I need my guest, and my guests need me. We need this community. We need this connection of understanding one another. And through conversation, I think in music and song and stories, we can make that difference. And what I really liked in your bio was one person at a time. I love that because we can do it together, one person at a time, one cup at a time, one tea at a time, one spot at a time. You know, um, I really want to thank you, Scott, for coming into my life and bringing your tea to my table because I need you. So thank you for that today. Um, so let's get into life number 6. Scott's had some really incredible lives, the 9 lives of the cool cat. Number 6 is the spiritual Dr. Zeus. We talked about Dr. Zeus
Dr.
before we went
Zeus?
live. So let's talk about Dr. Zeus.
So Dr. Seuss is a children's author who I grew up on. And one day I was reading one of his books to my 2-year-old daughter. She was 2 at the time. And tucked her in, said goodnight. And then I couldn't get the rhyming out of my head. It was like I was living and breathing, thinking and dreaming as Dr. Seuss. But I noticed that there was a theme to the rhymes, and that was they were about the spiritual journey of adults. So I started to write down what I was hearing in my brain, and it's become my altered ego. It's become like when I want to say something, if I could say it as the spiritual Dr. Seuss, it goes in more deeply than if not. So
What was
would you
your
like to hear a sample of it?
Absolutely.
Good. So we have on the menu today, we have the end of struggle. We have a conversation about fear. We have a conversation about the inner critic and the law of attraction and guilt, how the guilt stole Christmas. Which one floats your boat, Liz?
I'm going to go with Guilt Stole Christmas.
Oh, my goodness. Now, you just picked the one that I don't think I fully memorized, so I'm going to refer to my book if necessary.
Okay.
There's a teacher inside you who teaches you lessons. His favorite word should is a sign of his presence. He shoulds on you till you're so deep in depression. You make your priest gasp at your confessions. The teacher is guilt, and he's doing his best to whip you in shape so you'll be a success. When he thinks you screwed up, he whips your behind, the way jockeys whip horses to quicken their time. He's the guilt that steals Christmas, your personal Grinch. And he'll take a whole mile if you give him an inch. He lives in your basement, That's where he resides. Alone in the darkness, he schemes and he hides. So let's grab a light and head down to the cellar to expose and illumine this cagey cave dweller. Because most of us do not become motivated when guilt's on our case. We just want it sedated. So we smoke or we drink to drown out the noise, or become busy worker bees, good girls or boys. Straight A's, nothing less in our quest for perfection, in the hopes our achievements can win God's affection. But God always gives you a standing ovation, adoring you with the most pure adoration. It's guilt that thinks God could be pissed, which makes you walk on eggshells afraid of his fist, which possibly drives you to be atheist, or at least a type A perfectionist. Remember in school when you got your first B and you felt like you failed somewhat miserably? It's guilt that thinks misery leads to prevention, and for your own good sends you down to detention. And in that detention, he hopes that you'll suffer enough that you'll be that much wiser and tougher. It thinks it's serving some valuable service by rushing to judgment and making you nervous. But guilt's not like conscience, regret, or remorse. Those teachers teach gently, while guilt uses force. What's wrong with you, madam? And of course, shame on you, sir. Guilt thinks he's your teacher, but he's just your abuser. Now, these are long poems, so I don't want to.
No. I'm not going to stop you, because you know what? It actually goes into your T, Scott, because your T is teach.
Teach.
See
Now,
how
guilt
that
can arise.
flows together.
Now, guilt can arise from so many sources. Let's name just a few as a matter of courses. There's guilt from religion, original sin, humanity's birth defect, pass me the gin. There's sexual guilt when you've just done the naughty, or sometimes there's guilt when you just had the thoughty. There's guilt when you did something bad and got caughty, or when you did not do something you oughty. There's parental guilt that's installed by your folks who hope to protect you and teach you the ropes. There's guilt when you've gained weight and gotten too curvy. There's no end to the reasons you could feel unworthy. Now, if you are Catholic, guilt can be addressed in a booth once a week. Hail a cab and confess. And if you're not Catholic, you still can unload. So you pay a good shrink so your head won't explode. Because when you keep guilt in a dark, secret place, your head swells until it blows up in your face. And that's why we nickname our therapists shrinks. They help us deflate all the hot air we think. And if you can't pay for a counselor to hear you, you ask a good friend to listen and cheer you. Then they take a turn and sing like a canary, and you welcome their truth, like you are their truth fairy. And then guilt takes a hike without a single Hail Mary. Now, when you got guilt, you're on your own case, and your head's like a courtroom, a humorless place. The district attorney outlines your trespasses as if he was wearing a pair of dark glasses, glasses that block out your goodness and light. He's your prosecution, and he might win the fight. Not so fast, says your diligent defense attorney, as he outlines the good things you've done on your journey. Objection, objection, the DA protests and presents more proof that in truth, you're a mess. And on these attorneys, they fight all night and all day and all night, both trying to be heard and trying to be right. And when they cross-examine, battle, and spar, they both have no clue of the true you are. Because the you down in Trueville is never on trial. Underneath your adult, there's an innocent child whose report card in truth has no guilt to report. Your case has been settled and laughed out of court. There's no judge or jury, and it's starting to dawn. Being stuck in your head is not where you belong. So you start tuning out all that static and noise and start tuning in to what brings you joy. You take off your tight, stuffy courtroom attire and slip into whatever your heart does desire. Your heart, not your head, is now leading the way, which takes you back to church from your childhood days. The priest in the booth says, "My child, where have you been? It's been years and I'm ready to hear some new sins." But nothing prepares him for what he hears next. It's more blasphemous than the scandalous sex. "Father, forgive me, for I've been pretending that something was wrong with me that needed mending. I thought there were hoops that I must jump through first before being happy and knowing my worth. But now I'm finding my treasures on earth are here in this body, this temple, this church. Oh, the moments I missed and the joys I denied me by atone for some guilt that I thought had to guide me. But I'm off of the cross now and finally can say, I confess that I'm innocent. Goodbye and good day." And the priest in the booth, he's shocked and tongue-tied as you exit that place before he can reply. There's a bounce in your step as you let out a wee, because the space in your head is at last lawyer-free. You know you're still human and will make mistakes, but oh, what a joy to be off your own case. And simply because you are taking up space, you know that you're worthy of love and of grace. Simply because you are taking up space, you know that you're worthy of love and of grace.
Wow. That is awesome, Scott. Thank you for sharing that. My viewers are in awe. We have a couple comments here. Um, I like the flow, and I get the Dr. Zeus in Scott. Um, and then another comment we have here is, can we get these poems on your website as well?
Not on the website, but on Amazon, there is a link for "Oh, the Places Your Ego Will Go."
Okay.
And so you type that in with Scott Grace, and you will be sent to this cute little book that's so inexpensive and makes such a great gift for the holidays for anyone in your life that likes to laugh, and especially people who get defensive around personal growth, because most personal growth books bring up for people some form of "you're not enough as you are, but if you do these things," but this is just amusing and charming and innocent as hell,
Yeah.
and everybody reads it with a smile on their face. It's great.
I like the flow of it, right? It's like a good cup of tea, man. It is just a
Yeah.
nice flow, right? It's, you know, um, and I can see the Dr. Zeus in you, in you, Scott.
And each time, Miss Liz, that you do spill your tea, it's moments like that that create magically this sense of connection, of humanity, because we all make mistakes. I'm sure you'll agree. So you don't need
Absolutely.
to walk around with that teacup not spilling. You can let it spill here and there, and it's thrilling. And your cup of tea that spills gets top billing, because everyone wants to see each other's humanity. We're done with this gotta look good on camera thing. Look at people's YouTubes. Everyone's
Yeah.
just letting their environment hang out because that's what joy is about. Letting yourself off the hook, away from the book, cooking a recipe without having to cook by reading somebody else's good ideas. We're moving away from guilt and fear. We're moving into a whole new universe where we have learned to put first things first. And what is first? The love that we feel. And nothing else is really all that real. Nothing else is a big deal. What's important is the love that we feel.
I love that. From the heart, I could feel your tea. I could feel your energy, Scott, as you shared those words. Because that's what humanity is about. Just being real, being ourselves, not the light camera action and the powdered up. And, um, one of my biggest things, Robin Williams, one of my famous films that he made was Patch Adams, where he just put the red nose on and he just went in and brought some humor into, and that's what I feel with you, Scott, is bringing the humor into the heaviness of our world,
Mm.
right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So let's get into the cool cat life of number 7, song portrait artist.
Mhm.
So let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
So for many years now, people have commissioned me to write a song for a loved one, for their birthday, anniversary, wedding, no reason at all. And recently, the last one I did was for a funeral, was a eulogy song. So people send me information about the person. I have a list of questions, and I craft a song over a period of time, go into the recording studio and bring in musicians and vocalists, and we have a great time. But then not everyone can afford that. So I have a version of a song portrait where it's just 1 hour on Zoom and the song comes through me at the end of the session. So that is much more affordable for people.
Wow. Well, and thank you for that gift to everyone, because sometimes we need that song from the heart for our loved ones during
Mm.
birthdays and celebrations and stuff like that as well. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
have to check that
Mm-hmm.
out. I'm going to have to check your Zoom out a little bit more, Scott.
People have Zoom, meaning YouTube, or my website has a bunch of samples of song portraits. My favorite song portrait to do, I do the least, and that is the selfie. When somebody says, I want my own theme song to celebrate me, to cheer me on when I need support, a bouquet of affirmations that help me get out of bed and embrace the day. When I started doing this, I thought that was going to be the most popular type of song, and it hasn't been. People would rather spend money on a gift for somebody they love rather than themselves. Yeah,
So have
so
you
be it.
done any of the affirmation selfies?
Yes, I've done a number of them. Yeah,
So which one stands out to you the most?
I don't remember. I, I've done
I'm putting
hundreds
you on the
on
spot.
hundreds. No, I really, I've done too many to remember individual songs.
So Scott, when you're speaking from the heart and you're releasing the words, is there a spirit within you that gives you the words, or is it an energy that you speak to? Let's go on the spiritual side because I want to understand that a little bit more.
Sure. When I'm with people who have the vocabulary and the consciousness of archangels and that kind of thing, I speak that way. And then when I'm just wanting to be understood by the common person, I tell them that the right side of the brain is the intuitive, and it's where we have innate intelligence. In other words, we know things and we don't know how we know them. That's the part of the brain that I've learned to develop and access when I am letting things come through me. So I like to demystify it because it is something everyone can develop. And once you exercise the right side of the brain, that part of you takes over your life. It's meant to lead, and your intellectual is meant to follow. And this is why, my latest book, Mindful Masculinity, I talk about how masculinity is at its happiest when it's serving the feminine. And I don't just mean holding the door open for women, although that could be part of it. I also mean that when masculinity has a purpose to take action steps and move courageously towards something, that something is the feminine seed that is planted. It could be making the world a better place. It could be a lot of things, but it is like we are here to serve the right brain and let the right brain lead us. That's the point.
So, Scott, that kind of goes into the cool cat life of number 8, the best-selling author, right? Because this book and many other books, and the other one that you just showed us a couple minutes ago, let's share a little bit about the best-selling author and what got Scott that in that direction.
Well, I am a New York Times bestselling author of 4 books. And how I became a New York Times bestselling author is each time a book came out, I placed it on the New York Times bestseller list. In other words, I would cut it out of the Sunday paper, and then I would place my book on there and leave it there for 52 consecutive weeks. And
Okay.
that makes me eligible to say that I'm a New York Times bestselling author. Now, the truth is, I'm having a lot of fun with that little play acting, but I haven't really sold more than a few thousand books of each of these books. And it's because I'm always like, what's next? Like, I don't like promoting my history. And when I finish a book, it's history. And I'm like, what's next? And that's kind of the way I operate. So people find my books. I am very pleased, but I don't have the passion to promote them as much as I have the passion to write them.
Oh, I like that. Scott, I like that because I'm a writer and I have a hard time promoting my books as well. I'm just like, I
Mm.
enjoy writing them, but promoting them, they'll be found. The universe will guide them. The people will come, right?
If you write it, they will come.
That's right, right? I, is there a reason why writers and authors have so much trouble promoting their work?
Hmm. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that their introvert energy is wants to create that cave, and not too many people have both an introvert and an extrovert inside their brains.
Yeah, because I love the writing part. I just don't love the promoting part. You
Yeah.
know, it's almost like you said, the people will come, right? You write it, you get it out there, but it's doing. And I love what you just said. What's next? Because I love that. What's next for Scott?
Mhm.
So,
Well, sometimes what's next leaves me feeling like a nervous wreck because it's hard for me to say, what the heck? There's so much uncertainty. The future is a mystery. I can just let it be. Those are great affirmations, but sometimes my mind takes a vacation from the positive affirmations and fills my head with worst case scenarios. Worst case scenarios fill my projector. And fear says, I'll be your protector. And that's just a crock because fear has to stop in order for the self-expression to make an impression. And
that is,
through my giving, I make a financial living. And if I let fear stop the flow, no longer do I grow. but it's getting close to Christmas. So let's say ho, ho, ho.
So
Let's
that
come
gets
down
us
the
into the
chimney.
9 lives, right? And I love that you gave me 9 lives, because we all got 9 lives in us. We're all cool cats, right? Uh, the Cool Cats is from
Absolutely.
Aristocats, is it not from Disney?
I don't remember.
Ah, I think there was a Cool Cat song in there somewhere in Aristocats. I'm trying to go down down those roads again. But your 9 life that you gave me was the life coach, mentor, and guide. So you do that as
Mhm.
well. So let's talk about that, because I want to get the
Sure.
9 lives in there.
All right. So um, people come to me for inspiration to take a vacation from mental masturbation, to look in the mirror of how I see them and become a more kind and loving friend to their own inner being that just wants to bless them. And I help them undress them, to take off the armored suit of personality and find your own essence and enjoy your own company. So, through empathy, listening, channeling their guides, I help them feel more alive. Sometimes I sing them a song at the end, a song about being their own best friend, a song that summarizes the session we had and brings tears to their eyes and makes them feel glad. So a session with me is quite multi-tea. There's lots of tea bags that go into me. And they're all hopefully caffeine free, because I want people to calm down in my presence, to feel there's no worries at all, and to be in touch with their essence. Does that explain things?
Oh, wow. Scott, I could listen to you all day long. The words, the flow, the tease on how you get humanity. It's that simple, guys. And when we start spilling our teas and we're not afraid of who sees me, then we really make a
Do
difference between you and me.
you know that you just did some poetry, spilling your tea, humanity?
And that's just how simple it can be, right, Scott? Is when
That's how
we're in
simple
the
it can
same
be.
energy.
You got it. You got it by osmosis, by being around people who are in the flow.
Right? So, Scott, what final message would you have for everybody, or what song would you like to share with everybody?
These are some interesting times that we're in, and there's going to be major changes, and everyone gets to decide whether this something that needs to be birthed individually and collectively eventually, but it needs to be birthed, and you can either use forceps or you could use a midwife, the trust of the process to allow what is wanting to be born in you. But you can't avoid the contractions. You can't. There's going to be contractions in your heart and on the planet. But how can we have the most gentle birth? I wrote a song about it. There's a steady stream of wonder as I choose to make amends to the lightning and the thunder. Could it be they are my friends? There's a crack in fear's foundation. What was solid turns to dust. It's divine disintegration, and it's teaching me to trust, deepening my trust. There's a sun inside me dawning. There's a flood of tears to feel. There's a global heart that's warming, getting warmer as I heal. so much warmer as we heal. The changes have arrived. There's no place left to hide, and Mother Earth, she's giving birth to us all. Breathing deep through the labor pains, somehow we can trust the change, for midwives of the light is what we are. Midwives of the light is what we are. We are.
Wow. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your tea. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Uh, you're blowing me away. Bruce is in the house, big supporter of Miss Liz. He's my big brother, watches out for me, and he says, "Wow, love this, Scott. You're awesome." And outstanding. And we have some viewers on Instagram that are saying, "Thank you, Scott, for this time, and thank you for your tea." So this is what it's about, guys. So I want everybody to know that Scott is number 5. We are counting down tea time. Miss Liz is leaving the podcast world, but I'm not leaving you guys. I do have some things in store for 2025. But conversation and openness does make a difference, guys. Um, so thank you again, Scott, for joining me. Thank you to my listeners, my audience, my viewers. Go and check out Miss Liz's YouTube channel. Check out these incredible tea time guests. Each one brings a different type of tea, a different flow. If one tea doesn't resonate, I guarantee there's one in there that will. Uh, Join us all December 19th at 7 p.m. on Miss Liz's YouTube channel, where over 50 Tea Time guests are coming back and saying their goodbyes and farewells to Miss Liz, and have opportunities and surprises for all of you guys out there as well, if you're looking for them. Opportunities knock, and sometimes they knock in ways that we don't expect. And Miss Liz is just giving you those doors. So knock on them and see which one resonates with you. So thank you again, Scott, for joining me. We will be back at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we have Visionary Blueprint. That's right. We're going to open those visions up. We're going to get the blueprints going. We're going to get you started for 2025. I'm saving the best for last. Then we have Frederick Schofield coming in. He'll be talking about Cary Grant and his books and all that on Thursday. And we have also, let me just check. I don't want to make sure I'm forgetting anybody here. Then we have Michael Higson coming in, and he'll be talking about his story and journey being a blind person working with guide dogs. Because sometimes we put our blinders on and we forget that there are amazing people out there that have disabilities, that have a voice and a story that matters as well. And then we'll be wrapping up Tea Time, 5 seasons with 2 incredible, a poet, an author, and an illustrator from Canada, who has written this incredible poet book called The Canvas of Life. And the reason that I'm wrapping up Tea Time with The Canvas of Life is because all of my guests have given me a life to enjoy. 5 seasons, 5 incredible times together. So again, stay tuned. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Miss Liz will be back, and we will do number 4 and 3, 2, 1. And then we will celebrate, and we will continue to share these teas for lifelong lessons. So be sure, if you're needing a pickup, go and check out Miss Liz's YouTube channel. Check out Scott's YouTube channel. Check out his website. So Scott, if you'd like to read your website out to all the audio listeners out there.
Sure. It's scottsongs.com, SCOTTSONGS.com.
Awesome. So I will see everybody 7 p.m., same place, same time. And we're going to spill a different type of tea, because that's what Miss Liz does. Different flavors, different blends, and different guests from all walks of life across the globe.